Good afternoon and welcome back to our podcast. We're excited to have everybody here today about play big, win big, and think big. And today's special guest is Darrell. Darrell Self is from the great state of Texas and Republic, actually. And he's from Allen, Texas. He's got a lot of great things going on in his world. And today we have the distinct pleasure of being able to have him with us on the show. So, everybody, welcome in Darrell. And Darrell, it's great to have you. But while we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself and or not all, because you've got a long list of things, but a lot of the highlights that you've done to be successful at this point in your life, Daryl.
Sure, Brandon. Well, I started off a long time ago, graduated from college with a electrical engineering degree. I got laid off when I turned 40, and I decided I'm done with the corporate world. Went and got in the mortgage business. A year later, went and got my real estate license. 2008, I started my own company, and the rest is history.
Well, that's a pretty good history because mortgages and real estate in 2008 were a pretty tough time. It doesn't seem to me like anybody was actually making money. So the fact that you started your own business and just took the reins right by the hand, that's an awesome standpoint. So you get laid off when you're 40. What made you just decide to get into real estate and be able to, stick it out now for 16, 17 years?
Well, I mean, I saw that engineers have become a commodity, and I no longer wanted to work for the man. I wanted to be the man. So the only one that could fire me was myself.
And your wife, yeah, that's
And
that's what I
well,
had that same
yeah,
problem
and my wife too. Yeah, there is
on.
that thing right there. You're right. It was
Right?
stressful. We made it.
No,
Still
it always
married
is. So
27 years later. So,
how big is your operation now?
well, it goes up and down. Right now, my company, I only have about 5 agents. Where the market
Okay.
is, I sponsor another company that's local and then down in the San Antonio area as well. So,
And Daryl, so do you focus on residential real estate or commercial? What's your forte?
residential.
Absolutely.
That's
So
all I do. Do one thing and do it well.
absolutely.
That's my motto.
Well, so as we look at the podcast, we always like to get a little bit of a background from you and then understand like what were the couple of times where you really thought big and everybody said, well, that's too big or you're never going to accomplish that. You were outside of the box and then ultimately, you pulled the trigger and made it happen and stuck to it. So tell us a little bit about that story, Daryl. I understand that one's pretty fun.
Well, actually, the year I started my company was 2008, and I was selling condos, the most foreclosed property type in the country. And it was a tough year. I made it. Got interviewed by a local reporter on Channel 4 News here in the Dallas area. People that I went to church with saw me, and I said, "Oh, that." And from there, things just started blowing up.
So you believed in yourself, you had a vision, and you stuck to it.
Yeah, I mean that's the big part of making it as an entrepreneur. You have to have a vision. Hopefully, you have support from a spouse. If not, you go to friends and
Right.
get the support. And I'm not
Absolutely.
talking about financial, moral support. You've been there as an entrepreneur yourself, so
Yeah, there's been many times where we've struggled and the fridge has been bare and there's been many times where it's been successful and it was all having that belief that there was a better life and that we could control it. So tell us about one of your biggest wins. You started the business, but what was one of the bigger projects that was tough but very successful in the follow through?
well, I mean, when I started creating advertising campaigns and they just started blowing up, and then I actually wound up selling, I won't say the name of the company, but a COO of a large company that's now in Frisco, a
Okay.
home. So, and then I've got to do business with some people in special forces, someone that captured Saddam Hussein. So that was kind of fun. I got to see a picture of him with Saddam Hussein in a jumpsuit with his hands behind his back on his knees.
That's a pretty poignant,
And I've
picture if I
had
remember
some
right.
Fox News personalities in my car looking at homes not far from me, so I've got connected with some people I would have never had the opportunity to otherwise, and they found me online because I do a lot of video.
So you're doing a lot of video and advertising, and, we talked a little bit about, how the world's starting to change and utilize AI. So
Yes.
how have you been successful using AI to help you in the real estate or bringing in new clients, here recently?
Well, like I told you, I just made my before we came on the air, I talked about how I drove my YouTube views from 300 to over 4,000 in 28 days. I did that using ChatGPT, and I learned how to get it to SEO everything. So that right there has really started getting me a lot of traction, and it's got me your podcast number 3 I'm on in 2 weeks. And mainly from all my content I post on LinkedIn, which I probably got 700 videos up there
Well,
over a
that's
period of
that's
2 years.
fantastic news.
So,
As you look at some of the other challenges that you've faced, obviously it sounds like you've read the book "Who Moved My Cheese," where you were doing one thing and then had to change
yes.
and change again. And so I applaud that. As you look at it, what are a couple of the challenges that you're facing right now, whether it's growth or, changing market,
Well, yeah,
things of that
changing
nature?
market right now is definitely there. I mean, we have a lot of uncertainty in the economy. You got the tariffs, you've got interest rates stuck high, but the biggest thing is property taxes and insurance rates. It's the big boogeyman that people don't talk about. They think about interest rates, they think they're high, but we're sitting at about where the average 30-year rate's been for decades. So 6.25%, 6.5%, that's not high. It's just compared to COVID when everything blew up in price, which was a really tough time for people.
Well, and again, that just shows your grit and tenacity for being able to get through the tough times and looking forward to things. So, tell me a little bit more about those challenges, or how your mindset was in making this a win-win situation for you.
Well, what having an engineering background, I like to break everything down into logical pieces. So right now, when I'm talking to people about the market, I say, look, when I bought my first house, I paid 7.75%. Yeah, home prices were less. But look today where we're at. Sellers out there are having to lower the price, give you seller concessions. It's a great time to buy, and it's still a great time to sell, though you're getting less because when you buy your next house, you're going to get it for less. And when rates go up, you're going to see kind of a repeat of what happened post COVID. So that's
Yeah. When everything slows down
when
again, and
everything slows down and then demand suddenly picks back up because rates drop. And their predictions of rates, if they break just slightly under 6, we'll see a mass rush.
so part of that is cultivating and getting prepared and ready for either the next rush or the next downturn.
Right.
So share with us
And
how you've kind of set some seeds aside to be prepared for those rainy days, as well as when the days full of sunshine and full of production.
well, like like we were talking, my wife and I found some investments to put money into to generate us income during those rough times. Having a working
And
spouse doesn't hurt, but also taking a look outside the box just to find ways to make income in other ways as well.
well, and that's a great topic to talk about here for a second, Daryl. A lot of people have homes right now as their primary, living space. Some are
Right.
looking at them for Airbnb, but
Yes.
you mentioned a couple of outside the box thoughts here in our pre-interview, and that was you were investing in oil and gas and then multifamily. And tell us why that was kind of pivotal for you to be able to jump into those sectors that are a little outside your normal. investing
Yeah, I
circle.
mean, the oil and gas, that right there was to get depreciation things to help lower my taxable income. So, that was the reason for the oil and gas investment.
And if I remember right, you typically can save, depending on the type of oil and gas and where they're wildcatting and all that other fun stuff, you can save anywhere between 20 and 80% on your taxes.
Yeah, that
And so
that's
especially
correct.
as someone that's, making a decent or significant income, oil and gas is a great way to lower your taxable income. Is that what you're telling us,
That's
Daryl?
right. That's
Okay.
correct. And then the other
The other
was the
thing.
multifamily development, which being accredited investors gives you more options, so we're able to invest in developments not far outside Dallas that generate significant income for us. So,
Well, and
it
and that's
being
just it. So
small.
having a diversified portfolio, the oil and gas, the multifamily, you start getting the consistent payback coming in. And it's interesting how this isn't taught in either mainstream media or
No.
even when we're going to school, we're taught, become an electrician, become a plumber, become a doctor, whatever we're going to
Right,
be. And then ultimately, do that for the next 40 years, like it or lump it.
right.
And we're stuck in that kind of wheel that's always spinning. And so the fact that you've sat down and said, "Hey, I want to find something different that's producing money while I'm sleeping," effectively with the oil and gas and with the multifamily, collecting the rents every month. How has that helped change your perspective and help get you kind of on the forefront of changes or improvements in the investing world?
I mean, it allowed me to look outside the box with just, okay, go save a bunch of money like my parents did. And when they passed away, I inherited a significant amount, and that also helped me start taking a look at other possibilities and not calling a financial planner, going out and doing research, talking to other people that have been very successful. They're multimillionaires, and my wife's a hairdresser. In West Plano, and she has a lot of wealthy clients. And so some of them started talking to her about things similar to what we invested in. I started researching it, contacted the company that's here local. When I met with them, it's like, oh, because people think there's a ton of risk, and there's risk in everything. Nothing's risk free.
No, you're absolutely right. And for the listeners out there, it's great to have a rental property, specifically like a single family house. But when you think about multifamily, oil and gas, strip malls, hotels, things like that, even storage units, they have not just one person paying the rent every month, but
Right.
you could be 50, 100, you could be 2, 300, depending on how big the project is. And so now that one payment is spread through a multitude of people paying the payment for you, and it's just really smart in business. And so, yes, it's risky, but if you do it right, you eliminate the risk up front. Would you agree with
Right.
that, Daryl, or how
I
would you
would agree
structure it?
because, like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, when you're a single family investor renting a home out, they count for a 25% vacancy rate. So if you're in multifamily and it's 75% vacant, which is pretty rare, it's usually about 91 to 95% full. You have a much higher likelihood of having consistent income, very little drop.
Well, and then there's ways to start working with triple net and things where
Yes.
the tenants
Hey,
are responsible for repairs and updates, and you don't really get that opportunity so much in the single family homes. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I've had 130 rental properties before. But then when I started figuring out that I could, have one property with 130 tenants, it was
right.
quite a bit different and really changed the game for us. So Daryl, as you look at things like what type of advice would you give, either to the investor or to the entrepreneur right now about your focus and what you see in the market or, opportunities that you see that people are missing out on?
I mean, as far as advice to another entrepreneur, I would say you definitely need to look at what AI can do for you. It's not a be all end all, but it's just like video. If you're not involved with both, you're going to become invisible. AI is a good time saving tool, a good thing to come up with ideas, and of course, meeting with other successful people. in some type of network so that you can run ideas by them. It's those top people you surround yourself with, the top 5. That's the
Absolutely.
ultimate thing.
So building yourself, building your network, and specifically, I'm going to joke about myself and not about you, but I got a little bit more gray hair from the dump truck wreck and my kids driving me up the walls. I'm still in my 40s, but my hair's decided to, change color or two tone, however you want to see it. I don't think you've got that problem, but one thing that I'm impressed and empowered by here, Daryl, is that you are taking the AI by storm and by stage, and by keeping that with you. A lot of people that are 35 plus 40, 50, 60 are completely against the AI,
Yeah.
and how they feel like it's going to just make them obsolete. You've embraced it and been able to improve your impact through both your community as well as through your investing. And so, my hat's off and I applaud that.
Well, I'm
You know, I,
actually quite a bit older than you. I'm 64.
I was guessing that, but I didn't want to say that.
Oh,
I,
no.
I was trying to be
I
respectful.
oh, no, no. I'm proud of it. I made it this far in life. Life is good.
Well, and that's what I'm saying though, is there's a lot of people that I know that literally are their late 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're completely against any sort of improvement.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I read the book, and we referenced it a minute ago, the Who Moved My Cheese. Now, I probably read that 20, 25 years ago when I was first starting out. And it's interesting how big of a change AI is making. And so you're right. We can either be prepared and stay with it, or we can, kind of stick our thumbs at it, and we'll be the ones on the side hitchhiking, looking for
Right.
our way up down the road. So I applaud your success with that.
But like I say, AI is not the answer to everything. It's
No,
another
it's an
tool, but it
augmentation to help you perform better, but it's not. It's never going to replace the humans,
no, it
especially.
never will. Now, it
Yeah.
may replace some people doing code for software. It'll replace some things. It'll make things more productive. Might eliminate some jobs, maybe. Some agents, I'm afraid it's going to eliminate me. It's like there's always going to be human interaction.
Well, and that's just it. With the AI, you could probably go out and start to program searches, and go to Google and say, "Hey, help me find people that are looking for houses,"
Right.
in a geographical or a zip code area, and so agents could really thrive on that if they, recognize and how to harness the success of that those different platforms. So that's a great insight. So Daryl, what are some of your other big wins in life, and your big plays or big risks that you've taken? You talk about being an engineer. That's obviously a big play. There's a lot of money invested in going to school. But tell us about some of your other big wins that you've had.
Well, raising a daughter, having her go to college, and her leaving debt free, and we being debt free.
So was that from the scholarship plan of dad, or was
That was
that helping
scholarship
her?
plan of mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
No, that's
because
that's a great
when you
legacy
get
to
to where
leave,
we're at, you don't get many freebies. So,
right? Well, absolutely. So again, as we look at things, you've got 4 or 5 people in your business. Are you looking to grow and double and triple the size of your business? Or are you looking to stay kind of where you're at
well, I mean, I
with the
would like to
market?
grow it for one reason. As I get older, I want to work less, travel more, like I'm headed to Europe here in a couple weeks. I was in Cabo earlier this year. Another part of being an entrepreneur gives me flexibility. The only limiting factor is my wife has a job, so we have to schedule vacation around her time
Oh,
off.
well, and maybe if you get a few more commercial investment properties, that will relieve that, and then she can do it as for fun when she's around. And
And that's her plan and my plan. Yeah, I'd
absolutely.
like to bring on more agents, have more income coming in, and me work a lot less.
Well, we'll probably have to set up a time where you and I talk. I've taken a couple companies to the Shark Tank and been on The
Oh,
Apprentice,
wow. I had no
and
idea.
yeah, I usually don't play that card, but it sounds like something that we might be able to talk later on and help you grow. But as you look at kind of leaving that legacy and that footprint, what type of a legacy do you want to leave? Whether it's when you retire, whether it's to your family, you know, what is it that you want people to remember you for?
Well, I want people to remember that I actually cared for them. I mean, not just family, because that's one thing. From my dad, I learned to have a work ethic. He was when he passed away, it was standing room only at his funeral because people
Wow.
knew what a good man he was, how he actually cared for people. And when people work with me, they actually see that I care. I'm not there just to get a paycheck. I'm there to make sure they make the best decision for themselves. That's the legacy I want to leave. And I've taught my daughter that. And of course, we want to leave her something for the future, and we're already well set to do that. So she'll have a better life than even we had. That's the goal for her.
Well, and it sounds like you've put some estate planning and probably wills and trusts in
But
place for that.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, yeah. We've learned ways to get around trust, except for my business. It has to be in a trust. There's lots of ways in Texas to transfer property without having a trust.
Well, I'm just saying that with the different billionaires and centimillionaires that I've interviewed, they've talked about how having a trust, having the will, having all of that in place so that your legacy
Oh,
continues
oh yeah.
is absolutely fundamental. And it's funny because we all think, oh, well, I don't want to pay the attorneys, hundreds and thousands of
But
dollars an
there,
hour.
it's not hundreds of thousands. It's two, three, four, 5,000, whatever. It wasn't that expensive. We set one up for my mom. We're working on one for us.
And that's just it. A lot of times people think, "Hey, I don't want to do it, or it's not worth the time or the investment." But it really does save you in the end. And so it's exciting to see, when other people have been successful and have put that plan in place on things, Daryl.
Well, because
So,
when people pass, you find out how much that trust is worth.
well, and then you have to figure out if you don't have a trust, you get stuck in probate, and that could tie you
Probate,
up for 2 or 3 years.
months, years,
And
thousands of dollars, 7% of your estate typically goes to that attorney.
exactly. So it sounds like you've put yourself in play in a safe position, and that's pretty fantastic. As you look at your investment box, is it only there in Texas, or where else do you typically invest at?
Well, I've invested in oil in West Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just Texas. The
It,
multifamilies all local to Texas, though, because this is where everybody's moving. We'll be the most populous state in 2045, and Dallas will be the biggest city in the country. Houston number 2 and Austin number 3. So,
well, I'm not surprised. I would joke about a particular state on the West Coast, but I'm sure this will get out to them, and I don't want to get
right.
myself in too much trouble. So
Well, a lot of them are moving here.
I was gonna joke about that, but in a sarcastic way. So
Oh,
I'll leave it
yeah,
at
I'm
that.
sure we can have that conversation offline.
Yeah, we can do that one offline and go from there. But so Daryl, as we kind of wrap things up, we've had a great opportunity to see the vision of the future, see how you've not only thought big and played big and won big, but what would your final thoughts be to our audience today? And so, what's on your heart? What's on your mind? What do you want to share in a final capacity coming from you?
Well, I'd I'd say, after I read the book Rich Man, Poor Man by Robert Kiyosaki, it just helped me look at things differently. I remember when my dad worked, he worked for a company 27 years, and right before he retired said, "Oh, remember that pension we're going to give you? Here's a check for 10 grand. Good luck." So just think bigger than just a job. Think about something that you have a passion to do and go seek a way to make it happen.
Absolutely, that's great advice, and so to our listeners that can see this as well as those that are watching it, he's got the Texas star behind him, and so you definitely want to do like Daryl and play big in Texas, and everything's bigger and better there. But as you set your goals, make sure that you are always focusing on how big you can do. Too many people play small, and they put their self limiters on. It's great to see how Darrell and his family have just taken those off and literally ridden to the sunset and success. It's been a fabulous pleasure, and we look forward to our next podcast and having you with us then. Thanks, and we'll talk to you guys soon.